ice cream. Today, all I need to do is get 2 pathways dug in the big tunnel. 40 feet long, 1 foot wide pathways. Because earlier in the summer when Tyler was putting up the NRCS tunnel, there was a miscommunication and it got offset by like 1 foot. So as I was already planting stuff, I realized it, and so I kind of corrected, but I've got like 2 or 3 beds or something that are off by 1 foot. So I need to kind of move that around. And that's all I'm going to do today, I think, as far as garden stuff. And then hopefully tomorrow I can start moving the seaweed in, because that's why I'm getting these beds ready, because I want to put the seaweed on top of a couple of beds in the big tunnel. Okay, here I go. So now that I am looking at this with my measuring tape, I realize I've got to dig this area out, throw that material over here, and then I'm actually going to need to dig this out, throw that material over into that pathway there. And then I never did make a pathway between these 2 beds where I had like radishes growing. So I need to dig for the first time a pathway between those 2 beds. So 3 pathways. Okay, so I'm just gonna finish up this path, and then I need to go back at the head of this pathway and go through the weedy section. And then what I need to do over here, these 2 beds, is I need to pull out the irrigation first so that I can throw dirt on either side of the beds. And I thought about trying to pull out these radishes here, you know, because I think they might try and come back next year, like doing the little biennial thing, trying to make seeds or something. And this is where I want to throw the seaweed on these beds, because these beds don't have much nutrition in them and organic material. So that will kind of, I don't think the soil is going to freeze enough to kill any remaining radishes. I'm not quite sure what to do, but I really don't want to pull out a bunch of little tiny radishes, so I think I'm just going to cover them up and see what happens. So yeah, and I think I might be running out of light. I'm not sure how this is going to go. Should I do that tomorrow? We'll see. Oakley dokley, so I got it done in the dark last night. 1, 2, 3. I'm giving my noodle arms a rest today, I decided. I'm working on my notes for a video for this book. I've got some courage. Coffee for courage. My noodly arms are still noodly, but they're maybe a little less noodly. I was going to do seaweed next, but I'm noticing that the main garden beds where I had garlic this season, you know, and I have that mulch of seaweed that's been sitting there all summer long. And normally I get the pathways, you know, where the seaweed falls into the pathways, I get that dug out and thrown them back onto the beds, and then the water can run through and drain down the pathways. But I haven't done that yet, and I've been kind of putting it off to the last. Oh, I can do that later. But it's been pouring down rain, and now it's like a pond out there in the garden. So I think I'm going to start with that. Get those pathways dug out. I wanted to do it on a nice sunny day or a nice not rainy day, but it's pouring down rain and I'm going to do it anyway. Okay. Yes, and the other problem is too, the the area where I'm going to need to move the seaweed with a wheelbarrow into the big tunnel is got like some dips and some, you know, puddles going on there. So I might need to fix that so that it's easy to run the wheelbarrow through. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do today. Okay, I'm a little bit weary. Okay. Okay, dudes, so it's nearly dark, and I don't think I'm going to work on pathway to the tunnel because my arms are a little bit tired. But I think this is good enough. Part of the problem is I'm having a lot of runoff from like the tarps and this stuff pooling here. You know, so I need to deal with upstream drainage issues. But anyway, I think the rest of the beds are going to be all right. These ones were the worst, and so now they're fixed. These are my pathways during the daylight. First pathway, second pathway, third pathway, fourth pathway, fifth pathway around all 4 old beds of garlic. And I kind of just eyeballed these pathways, so I don't know. And after I said I wasn't going to try and fix this pathway to the big tunnel, I did try and make some changes in the dark. But you can see this is like super squishy, where I moved the dirt over here and tried to kind of drain it. But the elevation is lower here than it is, so it doesn't like drain down. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do there. So the other story that I didn't tell about those old garlic beds that I just put pathways into is that normally after I've harvested the garlic, I'm growing, you know, like clover or some sort of cover crop in there. And this year I decided to do oats and peas. The problem is that after the oats and peas started to come up, the deer for the first time got into the garden and they nibbled down all the peas. So the oats were still staying up. They didn't seem to want to bother with that too much. But then I took the fencing down and then they nibbled down the oats too. So the oats were not super high, but they were high enough, especially in one of the beds, that I was going to go ahead and plan to, you know, lay them down and then put the seaweed from the pathways on top of the oats. But since the deer nibbled the oats down, you know, there's still roots, really kind of hardcore roots in those beds of oats. The seed catalog says that the oats winter kill. So I hope so, because otherwise I've got a pretty good mess in there of oat roots. Anyway, I'm not doing anything out there in the garden today. Again, I'm going to rest my noodle arms. And right now I'm going to be headed to the library. I finished this book, Uprooted. You know, I don't know what to say about it. It's fine. But there's a section here. I was enjoying it, but then there's a section kind of towards the end, like this big section, where it feels like it's a screenplay for a movie that's got way too much battle and magic CGI. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And then the ending was kind of nice. And it's like, so yeah, overall, I was like, I don't know. It's an interesting story. I mean, it could have been a really great story. It was kind of an interesting concept. But yeah, that section was a little much and it was a lot. So anyway, I don't know. She does a couple of series of books and I thought about reading them if I liked this book. And so I don't know. Maybe I will. I've got a lot of nonfiction books that I need to read, but I'm kind of hung up. I need to do another in-depth video on this book, yeah. And it's been, I was trying to put together the notes and just looking back and trying to find the ideas that I had read before. And I was just, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to read this darn book again. I think I'm a masochist or something. So I've got, quite a few nonfiction books I'd like to read. But I think I'm going to hit this book first, and it's going to be a little while, and then I'm going to get the video done, and then I'll be done with it. But for now, yes, I'm headed to the library because I just want some books for the evening just for mind candy, but not like, a little bit more than just entertainment. I'd like to just really actually be able to enjoy the books. So that's what I'm looking for. Okay, bye. This time I have to get a small book. Okay, so I did get the nice sunny dry day that I wanted, but I think the problem is my arms are still too noodly. I might hurt myself if I try and move all this material like I wanted, and I'm kind of just being neat nickety. I think I just want all this stuff out of here, but I think it's probably a good idea that I got the beds out in the garden done first, because if we get a lot of snow or freezing temperatures for too long, I wouldn't have been able to get those pathways cleared out. So I'm glad I got it done. Anyway, next week is Thanksgiving, and so I think for maybe Thanksgiving weekend, I'm gonna put out a little tiny boat camping video. Teensy, teensy. And so I'll see you guys later. Happy Thanksgiving to those who do the Thanksgiving thing.